Hey everyone, Rich Gasaway here. I'm trying something new, a video podcast. I'll ask for your patience as I learn about how to navigate this technology, but I'm told that video is the way of the future and that more people will watch a video than listen to a podcast. So I guess we'll see. Hey, if you haven't already, swing by the SAMatters website and check out the virtual training that is now available. It truly is the easiest and most affordable way for your members to get dialed in on the topics of situational awareness and high-risk decision-making. I'll come to your department live via the internet to teach your members at your regular drill day. Just like I'm coming to you now on this video podcast, I would come to your department. You know, situational awareness, it's pretty important to good decision-making. In fact, you don't really have to have good situational awareness to make a good decision. You can have terrible situational awareness and still make a good decision. We call that being lucky. And I'd rather help you program out some of the luck of the equation. And that's why I created this virtual training. It's a really important skill. So if you want to improve the safety of your members, then swing by the SAMatters website and then just scroll down and check out any of those orange boxes that are on the homepage. And if you're interested in getting something hosted, then just click on the Contact Me tab on the top of the homepage. Okay, that's enough of this pre-show stuff. Let's roll that podcast intro.
Today's episode is sponsored by Midwest Fire. For more than 20 years, Midwest Fire has been manufacturing high-quality tankers, tanker pumpers, and fire rescue vehicles in the United States and Canada. Keeping firefighters safe while enhancing their capabilities is what they do best. To learn more, go to MidwestFire.com.
This is Division Chief Dan Pannonsville from West Metro Fire Rescue, and you are listening to the SAMatters Radio Show with Dr. Rich Gasaway. The SAMatters mission is simple. They want to help us see the bad things coming in time to avoid bad outcomes.
Hello and welcome to episode 198 of the Situational Awareness Matters Radio Show. I'm your host, Rich Gasaway. The purpose of this show is to improve situational awareness and decision-making for individuals and teams who work in high-risk, high-consequence, time-compressed environments with changing conditions. The SAMatters mission is simple: to help you see the bad things coming in time to avoid bad outcomes. Did you know I've been sharing this message of situational awareness and high-risk decision-making at live program events for 12 years now, and have trained just over 62,000 students, including first responders, industrial workers, military personnel, business leaders, medical professionals, utility workers, aviation workers, and more. Really, this is a message for anybody who works in a high-risk, high-consequence environment. I'm dedicated to improving your safety and your survival, and to share a message of hope and inspiration for anyone who works in those high-risk environments, and to help you accomplish the most important goal of all. Always the most important goal of all. And that's to go home to the ones who love you. And speaking of sharing the message, today I'm coming to you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I'm in town delivering 2 programs hosted by the Swissvale Fire Department. This is the 4th time the SAMatters tour has stopped in Swissvale, and I'd like to thank Fire Chief Clyde Wilhelm for his faith and confidence in my message to keep bringing me back to his department and to the region. We had about 140-ish first responders in the room, and the audience ranged from a volunteer firefighter who had served just about 4 months to the deputy chief of the Pittsburgh Bureau of Fire. We also had 4 responders who had served longer than 50 years. This message truly is important for any responder of any age, of any rank, or any range of service. One of the questions I get asked a lot by readers of my blog and listeners to the podcast are, when are you coming to my area? Or where are you going to be next? It's a great question, and I've made the answer really easy to find out. I've created a link on the homepage of the SAMatters website called Upcoming Events. It's the blue box on the right side of the homepage. If you click on that, it'll tell you where I'm going to be for the whole year. Here's something else. If you're interested in hosting a program, you could consider being a companion program. A companion is a program on an adjoining day to an already existing program. And it's a great way to save some money because you won't have to incur the cost of airfare. So if you want to save as much as 20% off of a program, just click on the Contact Us tab and tell me you'd like to be a companion to an already existing program. Today's episode is a 3-part interview with 2 members of the Chesterfield County Department of Fire and EMS. On January 17, 2016, they responded to a residential dwelling fire that claimed the lives of 5 civilians, including 2 children. This interview chronicles the events that happened that early morning, the situational awareness challenges they faced, and the lessons they learned coming from the first in captain and the first arriving battalion chief. Welcome, everybody, to this video episode of the Situational Awareness Matters Radio Show. I'm your host, Rich Gasaway, and today I have 2 members of the Chesterfield County Fire and EMS Department here to talk about a significant incident that they had in Chesterfield County. But before we get into the events of that day and the incident, I want to give my 2 guests an opportunity to introduce themselves. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Joy Nicely. I've been with Chesterfield Fire Department for the last 16 years. Started out my career in the city of Petersburg, spent 4 years there and moved here. Various assignments, spent some time in the training division where I did incumbent training and then personnel development programs, and was promoted to battalion chief 2 years ago. At the time of this call, had only been a BC for 6 months.
Okay. I'm Captain Rick Russell. I've been with Chesterfield for, this will be going on my 15th year. Started with as a career firefighter with Roanoke County before coming here. I've been an officer for going on 8 years now, a captain for the last 3. My original officer position was engine company at Station 3. Then I moved on to running recruit schools for the organization for 3 years until promoted to captain. And now my current location is the station captain of Engine 24, which is at the center of the county.
Rick, how long were you a station captain at the station where this incident occurred before the incident?
Right about a year.
Okay. All right. So give us the backstory of the department. Most of the listeners might have heard of Chesterfield County. Those closer to you will know a lot more about it, but somebody in Idaho may not. So just tell us a little bit about the department's general makeup.
Sure. We have 22 fire rescue stations, 18 transport units, 22 engines, 5 ladder trucks, and we have a minimum daily staffing of 114, which can fluctuate because we have some daytime medics. So during the day, between 8 and 6 on weekdays, it could be 117 on duty at any given time. We're a big county at 446 square miles, big for the area, with over 328,000 citizens. And last year we answered almost 41,000 calls for service. And like most organizations, fire EMS organizations, 74% of those 41,000 calls were EMS. And of those 41,000, only 413 were structure fires. And of those structure fires, of those 413 structure fires, 124 were what we consider a working incident. So a working incident for us would be something significant other than a kitchen fire or room and content, where that initial first alarm assignment is engaged in activity and committed to the scene for a half an hour or longer. So anything that got out of the room of origin usually is what we would call a working incident.
Now, when you say you had 124 working structure fires in the course of a year, to somebody that might sound like a lot of structure fires, but when you take that number of structure fires and you spread it over a county of your size, over that many stations, over that many shifts, each individual firefighter, unless they're from one of those stations that get, the heavy load, but each individual firefighter probably in the course of a year will only see 2 to 5 structure fires. Is my math right in that?
Absolutely. Yeah, and you could have a slower station that's not as densely populated out in the western and southern parts of our county where they don't see that. So absolutely, which presents a significant problem for us. Like many organizations are seeing, that the lack of experience is out there, the lack of repetition, and that's why this call was so significant for us for many reasons. But one of the reasons it was so significant is because it was something that was so low frequency and such high risk that we were doing, the operations that took place there. And we fell back on our training, like all good firefighters do. They train constantly, train on the basics, train on the stuff that you don't do that often, so that at 3 o'clock in the morning, these guys can get it right, and they did.
To also complicate the problem, we're a very young organization. We've had a lot of retirements over the last 5 to 10 years. So we have a tremendous amount of youth, and which is great, but they lack experience.
And I'm seeing that to be a problem in many organizations, because it seemed like some of them, and probably yours too, did a large wave of hiring at some point 20, 25, 30 years ago, and then that wave is now retired. And we have this new wave of newer firefighters. I can't remember where I was, but a significantly sized organization. And they said that a third of their organization, and this was a department that had 500 or 600 career members, a third of their organization has less than 5 years of service.
We're probably greater than that.
Yeah.
Really? Say,
I'll give you an example. My company that I rode with last night, 3 firefighters with me, combined had 6.5 years of total service. Combined between the 3 of them. They were all 3 of guys that I taught in recruit school. So if they screwed up, I can't blame anybody else.
Yeah, you'll have to own that one. You said something, Joy, that I before we get into the incident, I really want to unpackage a little bit, and that is you said you spend a lot of time doing training because of the low frequency of these high risk events. So, and Rick, you do or did some of the training. So kind of talk me through what you're doing to try to prepare this young workforce for these high risk, low frequency events. What are some of the ongoing kind of training concepts that you apply to help prepare for these?
So incumbent programs here in the training center, every trimester we go down to our training facility in Enon and do some type of hands-on training, and at least twice a year get into our burn building and go in there and do live burns. So every company in the county, all 22 fire stations, and every single employee rotates through those in-services that we have down there. And then each company is expected to do some type of hands-on quality training every day. And I can tell you that they do it. It is such a young organization that they crave it, and very, very proud of them for that. And in fact, the engine company and truck company, the engine that was the working incident and the initial truck company on the call, had practiced event enter, isolate, search the shift day before together to get out and put hands on it and make sure that everybody knew their role and could perform it.
When you say they do some form of training every day, are they provided with an itinerary and a lesson plan for that kind of training every day, or is that pretty much up to the officer to set up and design something every shift day?
We do have standard engine ops that we're required to do quarterly, and the battalion chief comes out and observes the engine officer and his or her crew do those, but I'll let Rick speak to how he comes up with his training program for what they do daily in the station, but it's nothing set.
So there's some stuff that comes out certain times of the year, important things that are spread out that need to be trained on, that are, I don't want to say mandated, but are pushed down from the training division to focus on some trends that they'll see. But your average shift day, it's up to I say to the officer at my station, it's most of the time it's at request or something that one of the guys or girls want to train on. What do you feel uncomfortable with? I know quarterly I sit down with my guys and go, what do you want to do next? What are you either interested in or scared the heck of, that we need to put our hands on and do? Whether it be going to mess with elevators or whether it be going to pull hose up to some of the 3-story guard style apartments. And they crave it, they love it. So I'm very blessed with that. But to answer your question, long story short, it's up to each individual shift on what they want to train on your average day.
It's a lot of district training, a lot of multi-company training. I know in the north, our companies will get together, ones that aren't necessarily housed together. The Bon Air Station, which is kind of centrally north, and our station that's over more towards the east or the north will get together, and those firefighters will work with the truck company and just get together so they know what the capabilities and expectations of each other are. It makes for a smoother operation.
We have such a diverse county with different needs. Station 13, which is got farmland surrounding it, needs to train on different stuff than I do. That I have shopping centers and apartment complexes covering my entire first dip. And the eastern part of the county has 1 million square foot Amazon buildings. So the training needs are very different on what each individual company needs to work on for their district and their surrounding districts.
Yeah. You are a very diverse and complex county as far as service, the variety of services that you provide. Another question about the training is when these on-duty companies are doing this training, are they doing it in service or do they mark themselves out of service while they're doing the training?
We're too busy to mark out of service.
Yeah, they're available while they're doing it. And frequently they'll have to leave hose in a parking lot behind a building. And they'll just mark that on the radio, and Chesterfield will send a police officer to sit with our hose, and they love doing that. But they will go back and get it, but they'll be in service while they do it.
If there is something specific that I want to train on in our district that really will hamper us being able to respond, I can coordinate that ahead of time with my BC, which is not Joy, it's a different one. But and we can arrange that, but that just takes a little pre-planning ahead of time. I can't just call him this morning and go, hey, can I mark busy from 12 to 4? He's going to go, no, we got too many other things going on. We got dive team training and in-service and helicopter, stuff going on all the time. So
they'll also set up with our junkyards around here days to go and cut cars. And, of course, they'll mark busy for that, and they'll take us around an engine company with them. They don't have to be a day where we're not doing in-service or dive drill or any of that, but they arrange it ahead of time. They'll also arrange the truck companies to go down to Enon, where our most of our training facilities and equipment and everything are, and they'll go down there and do truck ops, and they'll mark unavailable for that.
Okay, I think it was important to have that conversation because of how many times I'll have people, I guess, use the excuse that they can't train because they're too busy or because they can't mark out of service. And I just wanted someone out there to hear that a department with 41,000 calls a year finds a way to do their training without marking out of service. And really what you're doing is just every day, it sounds like every day, making an incremental improvement in that crew.
Absolutely.
Whatever that be. That as I have heard it said, and I say often, but when they leave here, they're going to leave here a little smarter than when they came. And that's sounds like what you've dedicated yourself to is just incrementally improving those crews every day.
Well, training in PT, it's either you'll find time to do it or you'll make excuses not to do it.
Yeah. Isn't that the truth? All right. So let's jump into the day that this event occurred. It happened in January. So talk us through that day in general, what the weather was like, what staffing was like, and any other things going on that day that were of any concern, any big events, or, was this your second structure fire, anything, just kind of lay the day out for us.
It had actually been really slow, and I know that's a 4-letter word to say in our department, because anytime it gets said, something happens. And it had been slow for a good while, and so nothing significant was going on. Being January in Virginia, it was cold. It was happened at 3 o'clock in the morning, so it was 36 degrees. It was raining and snowing. And we had a significant front moving through, so we had some good winds too, 15 to 20 miles an hour, gusting at 20 miles an hour that morning. And some units were out of place. The 4th Battalion, who should have been first due on this call, was actually being filled by a captain working up in that spot, and he was in the far western reaches of the county on an overturned tractor trailer with a diesel fuel leak. And so our shift commander got up in the middle of the night and went to assist that captain. And I had heard that call. I sleep with my radio on the TAC, so I hear any significant calls, and had gotten up and read the comments. And that call was the only thing going on at that point in the night.
Now, was that call anywhere near where this fire is that we're going to talk about, or was it in some other part of the county?
very, very far western reaches of the county, nowhere near where we were. It was going to put him out of place.
Okay, so none of your first new resources were dedicated to that incident.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So
other than the battalion chief.
Okay. I know you have a audio recording of the call. Would it be appropriate maybe to start with just having that call come in just as it would have come in for the crews, so that the listeners can hear how you were dispatched out on this?
Sure.
Okay. So to go ahead and take control of the screen, Joy, and I know you've got some resources up on your computer. There you go. And we'll just sit quietly and let that dispatch go through, and then we'll talk about that.
Emergency. Our house is on fire. Wicklow Lane, WICKOW. We've got 3 small children, and I'm a paraplegic.
All right, listen, I want to get help out there. 3401 Wicklow Lane.
Yes.
All right. What is on fire?
I don't know. I'm in my hospital bed, and I don't know. I have the clue. They're
Okay.
getting the children up and out of the house.
Okay, listen, do you see fire?
No, smell it.
Okay. All right, does anybody in the house see flames?
I don't visit getting the kids yet.
Okay, I need to know. Does anybody in the house?
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Do we have flames? I can smell it.
All right, listen, I've got help coming to you, sir. They're coming as fast as they can, okay? What's your name?
My name is Richard Hudson. I'm the homeowner.
All right, Mr. Hudson, your phone number. Well, South Glen, get your.
Yeah, that's my cell phone number, yeah.
Okay. All right, tell me how to get to the room where you're in.
I'm in the first floor master bedroom.
All right, if I'm looking at your front door, are you to the left?
My front door, you come and you make this, you turn into a little hallway there that's on the right, so it's a little cubicle hallway, and I'm here.
Okay, so if I'm looking at the front of your house, if I'm looking at your front door, are you on the room to the right of the front door?
No, I'm in the second room on the right.
Second room on the right. All right, what is that sound I'm hearing?
That's somebody yelling.
All right, who's yelling?
Lady, I don't know.
Oh, I understand, sir. I know you do, sir, and I've got help coming.
Smoke, I've got to go by.
Sir, don't hang up.
Hello? Hello?
All right, sir, they're coming. Please don't hang up on me, sir. I want to help.
Look, lady, it's going to get hot. I've got to go out. I don't want to die in this fire.
Are you able to get out?
No, I'm having somebody help me.
Okay, they're coming.
So there was a couple of significant things in that call. One, she did a fantastic job getting the information she did out of him. Can you?
I was going to say give the screen back, but you did that. All right, go ahead.
So a couple interesting things there, and I want to give some credit to our emergency dispatchers at this point, because we have a call taker, somebody who dispatches us, and then somebody who will be on the TAC, 3 different people. And she had a great deal of experience, the call taker. And she's trying to get this man to tell her where in the house he is. She got a lot of information out of him, and he was doing the best he could to tell her. However, the information we got from him that was relayed to us through her was not accurate. She relayed exactly what he told her. However, it didn't end up being the case, and I'll let Rick explain a little bit more about that.
It plays a little more into after we're on scene.
Yeah.
About making decisions of where to try to make access to known victim locations. But the information of two rooms to the right of the front door, once you see pictures of the front of the house, that doesn't add up when you're on scene trying to process where this victim is.
Yeah. Before we get there, talk to me about what would be dispatched to this call as far as resources.
You want to play the dispatch?
Yeah, I have the dispatch if you
want. Oh, yeah. Yeah, go ahead and play it.
Engine 24, Engine 2, Engine 20, Truck 9, TSO, Ambulance 31, Battalion 3, Battalion 1, Wicklow Lane for structure fire. Engine 24, Engine 2, Engine 20, Truck 9, TSO, Ambulance 31, Battalion 3, Battalion 1, 3401 Wicklow Lane, cross street of Kings Crown Road and Lake George Hamlet subdivision. Party 1, smoke at a residence on TAC 3 through 314.
So for a residential structure fire, we get a 3, 1, and 1, so 3 engines, a truck, a medic, 2 battalion chiefs, and a TSO for us is a tactical safety officer. So that's the standard response. Medic 2 was also put on this call. There was a report of somebody trapped inside on the initial dispatch. Once we marked en route, they gave us that update, and she added Medic 2 as well, which is a fire department medic unit. Ambulance 31 is volunteer, so they can't perform any fire functions once they get on scene. They're strictly rescue.
Okay, and which battalion are you, Joy?
I am Battalion 3. Battalion 1 was put on this call, and he's coming from the central part of the county, which is a good distance away. And Battalion 4, who should be on the call, heard it, put himself on the call, and then as the comments started coming in, he realized the significance of it, and he announced how far away he was, which was a good distance away. And Battalion 1 put himself back on the call, because he knew I was on myself for a while, and that the call was significant.
And what are you on, Rick, in this call?
I'm the captain of Engine 24, first
engine. Right. First Engine 24. Okay. All right, if you want to go off the screen share, and then we'll continue the conversation. Good. Expert at this, Joy. Okay, so we got 3 engines, a truck, 2 EMS units because of the report of possibly somebody trapped, Battalion 3 and 1, the tactical safety officer, Battalion 4 on the call. So how long for who's first in?
Engine 24.
All right.
Company. Yes, sir.
All right, and how many's on your engine?
It's a 4-man engine company on nights and weekends. So this night, unless we get pulled down, if somebody around the organization goes home sick at another station, our minimum staffing is 3, but we have 4 engine companies that are at 4-man staffing when things are perfect. That's not always the case, but this night it was a 4-man engine company. All
right, and that's just so I can round out my understanding of the staffing. How many's coming on engine 2?
The rest of them all have 3 firefighters on it, including the officer. So 3-man staffing on everything else coming.
The truck as well? The truck as well?
Did it? Okay. And the second due engine had 3, the third due engine had 3, and the truck company had 3.
Okay. And then the battalions, do you have drivers, or are you alone in the battalion?
We're by ourselves in the vehicle.
Okay. The tactical safety officer is 1-person unit as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. That helps me out. All right. So on the way to the call, Rick and Joy, talk me through what you're hearing on the radio and what you're thinking and what your concerns are.
Okay. Our engine company had run another call about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning for an EMS response. One of my ALS firefighters had to drop and go to the hospital with the volunteer rescue squad and got back not too long before this was dispatched. So I guess we'd all been back at bed asleep maybe about an hour, and it got dispatched as smoke, smell of smoke in a residence. So as you're waking up from that slumber, you hear that, you start trying to process what it possibly could be. That time of the year, I'll be honest, what was in my head was, smoke smell from an HVAC unit, or, just some of the things that we run like that. But with no more information than that, that's what we're going to the unit, thinking, not sure exactly what we're going to. Didn't have any information at this point of somebody trapped in the house or flame seen. As we marked en route and start looking at the comments on our MDC computer, it's obvious that this is working. And at this point, I know that 1 person is trapped in the house, and it's a handicapped person that cannot get out of on their own. It's a very short distance from my station. Do you know the exact mileage?
I think it was 2 miles.
So 2 miles. It's a short trip. Very short amount of time period to. I didn't get all the information off the MDC because you have to switch back and forth between the screen that shows call data and the screen where you can do your mapping that shows where your hydrant locations and the lengths of your legs. So I did not receive all of the information that was continuing to come in. because the computer dings, but you have to be able to know where you're going and where your hydrants are to be able to start relaying that information of where you're laying in from. So very quickly, we knew it was a lot more than just the smell of an HVAC unit, something going wrong with that.
I think it's fair to pause here and just say that you're processing all this information of a working fire with people trapped, and just to acknowledge that your entire crew has collectively about 6 years of experience.
Not that night. My crew currently now does. This has been 2 years ago.
Okay.
So, my driver was just released as we call it an MPO, motor pump operator. He was released that day. He had a year on the street. He was released that day as the driver of that engine. One of my jump seat firefighters had about 6 or 7 years, and my second jump seat firefighter had 25 years. So a very experienced firefighter in that. So I was lucky with that I did have some experience and tenure with me on that fire engine that night. So that's not the case.
Yeah. Joy, how long is your response to this, and what are you thinking on the way?
I'm probably about 6 to 7 miles from there, and knowing I had been up earlier, knowing that my command staff's coming from a distance, and I obviously don't have a driver, so I can't read comments going down the road, and our dispatchers will update us of anything pertinent because they know that. But I'm thinking, what resources do I have coming? There's at least one person trapped. I've read what I can before I leave my office, and then when I pull out of the bay onto the ramp, I stop one more time while I'm switching my tack channels and cutting my lights on, scan it, and all I had seen at that point was one a bedridden person trapped in the house. And so I had requested an additional engine and medic to care for that patient, because you're going to at least need that many people for somebody who's been trapped in a house fire.
So that would have been a fourth engine or the third?
Correct. That would have been the fourth engine.
And what engine was that? Engine what?
That ended up being engine 9. Engine 9.
Okay.
Company that night.
And was the second medic then medic 2?
Medic 2 was already on the call, so she informed me that she had already put them on the call.
Oh, okay. All right. And so about 2 minutes later, Rick, you're pulling up. So describe for me, while the wheels are turning, what you're seeing and what you're thinking.
Okay. En route, told the guys over the headset reading the comments that it's obviously working. We got reports of somebody trapped. Gave a little bit of reassurance to the I called a kid. He's not a kid, but he's early 20s, driving. Take your time and focus on your job, because he was nervous, as you can imagine, but did fantastic. Located our hydrant, relayed to the second and engine company where we're going to be laying from. And as we're getting close to the scene, our PD marks on scene, and with heavy fire involvement in the house. So we know that it's really working at this point. As we're staging, while one firefighter's wrapping the hydrant, you can see a heavy column of smoke in the distance. So it's obvious that this is really working. As I look down the road, you can see people in the road out in front of the house. And as we're laying in, there's actually a lady walking down the street in a bathrobe that I'm having to blow the air horn at to get her out of the way. As we pull up in front of the house, there is as much fire as I've ever seen on a residential house fire. It was so much fire that I couldn't even tell that there was a second floor to the house. It was flames literally probably 60, 75 feet in the air, and you couldn't tell how many floors were to the house. My actual on-scene report that there was called it a one-story single-family wood frame. Ended up being 2-story. We relayed that after the on-scene. But as we're pulling up on scene, there's literally police officers and family members and neighbors running all different directions around the yard. And the entire, half to 3/4 of the house fully involved in fire through the roof, portions of the roof involved, a car in front of the garage heavily involved in fire. And matter of fact, as I'm trying to do my on-scene report, one of the family members actually pulled the door open to my fire engine and started yelling in the fire engine that there was children trapped upstairs. So it starts off really bad. So as I step out of the engine, trying to process the information of this man screaming at me that there's children trapped in the house, and I had to harness him in and just ask him where. He says upstairs.
That was the first we'd heard of the children.
That was the first that I had heard of children being trapped in this house. So now we went from one senior person in a possible house fire that's handicapped to now a senior person and 2 children trapped upstairs. And then when you look at the house, the entire second floor of the house, the roof is heavily, heavily involved in fire. And we're sitting there with, an officer and 3 firefighters and not a whole lot of help. So I was really glad to hear our second engine coming up right behind us.
Thank you both for being part of my show and sharing your important story. I have a favor to ask of you, the listeners of this podcast, or video podcast, I guess is what it is today. The primary reason I launched this podcast was to give voice to those who've experienced near misses or worked in high-risk, high-consequence environments like the episode that you just watched. These stories have been shared with me in live events, and the stories have just been amazing and extremely educational. And I'd like to get more of these lessons shared to a larger audience. I need your help. If you've experienced or witnessed a near miss or had a high-risk, high-consequence incident and you'd like to share your lessons learned, just swing by the SAMatters website and click on the Contact Us tab at the top of the homepage. Think about it for a minute. The lessons learned from your near-miss event could save the life of another first responder. And that's really, really powerful. And what a wonderful gift that would be. If you want to share your lessons, contact me. Okay, as I always do, I want to take a moment to thank the companies and the organizations and the agencies that have hosted some great situational awareness training. I do this to show my appreciation of those who put forth the effort to organize, advertise, and fund great training experiences for their members and their employees. Recent tour stops included the Henrico County Fire Department, the BX Swan Lake Fire Department in Alberta, the Penticton Fire Department in Alberta, the St. Louis Area Fire Department in Michigan, and the Portage Fire Department in Michigan, and of course where I am now in Swissvale, Pennsylvania. If you're interested in attending an upcoming SAMatters tour stop, you can join me on the day this episode airs. I'll be delivering a program in Evans, Colorado. And then after today, you can join me tomorrow, February 7th in Frisco, Colorado, February 12th to 15th in Michigan City, Texas, February 20 in Orlando, Florida, February 21 and 22 in Pipestem, West Virginia, February 27 in Austin, Texas, March 1 in Fort McMurray, Alberta, March 12 in Towson, Maryland, March 14 through 18 back in Fort McMurray, Alberta, and April 2 and 3 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. If you want to see all the locations of all the upcoming SAMatters tour stops, just swing by the website, click on that blue box I told you about for the upcoming events. Check back often because it's always changing. If you're interested in hosting a tour stop for 2018, I'm actively booking the programs now for summer, fall, and winter of 2018 and into 2019. So if you think your company or agency or association or regional conference or state conference or national conference might want to host a program, just go to the SAMatters website and click on that Contact Us tab. I've got some great staff and they'll make it easy for you, I promise. The last time I delivered programs in Southwest Minnesota, I had a chance to stop by and visit the sponsor of this podcast show, Midwest Fire. Midwest Fire is a fire truck manufacturing company that makes all poly-bodied fire apparatus, and it's changing the industry. You really need to check them out if you haven't. Just go to MidwestFire.com. That's MidwestFire.com. Anyhow, while I was there, I had a chance to sit down and talk to some of their employees about what separates Midwest Fire from their competitors. So let's listen in to an audio conversation that I had with engineer Tyler LeBrun talking about lean manufacturing and how this differentiates Midwest Fire from their competitors.
So Tyler, in a conversation that we had earlier, you mentioned the term lean process or lean manufacturing. And then when we were out on the shop floor, you were like snapping around these Japanese terms that, I guess in the lean manufacturing world means something. What is all this, voodoo magic of lean manufacturing or lean process? What does it mean, and why would a customer even care that you run a lean facility?
Well, one of the big things with lean is it's very focused on the customer. Basically, you look at it as what the customer is willing to pay for. There's waste in our process. There's waste in everybody's process that they have if they own any type of business. And what waste is defined as is anything the customer is not willing to pay for. We had a good example down there of, maybe you've been in some different shops and seen stuff just scattered around everywhere, like maybe a floor jack, like somebody used it and left it right there. Well, now the next time somebody wants to go find that floor jack, if they've got to walk around for 5 or 10 minutes, that's a waste that the customer's not willing to pay for. They don't want our guys to be down here wandering around looking for parts. They want them to be putting things onto their truck, and that stuff is value added. The walking around and stuff that you're not willing to pay for is non-value added. And that's really what drives down and brings us to be able to offer something better to the customer, that we are building a truck more efficiently, which obviously passes savings on to them. We talked about our inventory control system, Kanban, one of those fun Japanese words, that basically allows for a system to be around our parts ordering, that the operators control that they go down, they reach a minimum point, they pull a card, they do that kind of stuff, but the parts are always there for them. Not only are the parts always there, but there's not an excess amount of those parts, which costs us money to carry, which we would then obviously, no doubt, have to pass on to the customer. But by reducing all these costs, getting rid of all the waste, we're really able to better give the customer a more quality truck, faster and possibly at less cost than a competitor.
So everybody here, I assume, has to go through some training to learn how to be part of a lean process manufacturing? Yep. So there's a couple of different ways that we've done that. There's been some guys that have been able to go out and do actual hands-on training at some seminars or that kind of stuff. We've also gone out and taken tours of some real-world class facilities in the area that we've been lucky enough to have. We also do some mentorship. That's something that I've been able to take my experience and kind of help the guys look at all that kind of stuff. But it really boils down to having a team that's willing to work together and continuously improve. And that continuous improvement is the big thing, is that we don't have a set goal in mind that we are going to be at X in 2016 and then we're never going to do anything again. Lean is really about continuous improvement and just realizing that you're constantly in the pursuit of perfection. If you're not improving, you're on the decline. So that's really some of the ideas behind that, the continuous improvement, and obviously training the employees. Well, there you have it, folks. Continuous self-improvement and lean manufacturing. It's what separates Midwest Fire from their competitors. Check them out at MidwestFire.com.
Thank you to Midwest Fire President Sarah Atchison and all of your staff for your awesome commitment to improving the safety of first responders. I really appreciate your support of my mission. Hey, if you're not part of the SAMatters community of learners yet, just consider joining. There are over 50,000 connected here through my newsletter, through Facebook, through Twitter, through LinkedIn, sharing ideas about how to improve situational awareness, how to make better decisions under stress, and how to train members to be critical thinkers and resilient problem solvers. If you want to sign up for my newsletter, and by the way, it's free, here's a really easy way to do it. Just go to the SAMatters website and click on that red box on the right side of the homepage that says free newsletter. You can also, if you have a smartphone, just text SAMatters to 22828. That's the letter S and the letter A and the word matters all squished together as one. SAMatters to 22828. And you'll get a message back from me about how to access the newsletter and the program handouts. If you want to get connected with me on Twitter, you can follow at Rich Gasaway on Twitter. If you want to get connected with me on LinkedIn, you can just search for Rich Gasaway on LinkedIn. If you want to watch my videos, you can go to the SAMatters YouTube channel. That's where this video podcast is going to be posted. And there's about 600,000 downloads to the videos that I have there. You can get connected with me on Facebook by liking the SAMatters page on Facebook. And finally, if you know a company that would like to advertise their product or service on this podcast to my audience, have them contact me. We've had over 260,000 downloads of this podcast show, and it's gaining popularity. It'll probably gain even more popularity when it becomes a video podcast So I'm just, like I said, still kind of testing that out. So it might be a good way to get their message into the now eyes and ears of the podcast listeners and viewers. Well, that's it. Episode 198 is complete. Thank you to Battalion Chief Joy Nicely and Captain Rick Rassel for discussing your incredible incident that you had in Chesterfield County. Be sure to join us back for episodes or parts 2 and 3 of this series. I want to thank our awesome podcast sponsor, Midwest Fire. I want to thank all the companies and agencies and organizations that have hosted live events. I want to thank all those who have hosted the live virtual training event that I talked about at the top of the show. And thank you to the more than 1,200 students who have enrolled and completed the Situational Awareness Matters online academy. Truly the best way to take your learning on this topic to a higher level. And most importantly, I want to thank you, the listeners of this podcast and the viewers of this video podcast, for sharing some of your valuable time with me today. I really appreciate your support of the SA Matters mission. Be safe out there, and may the peace of the Lord and strong situational awareness be with you always.
You've been listening to the Situational Awareness Matters Radio Show with Dr. Richard B. Gasaway. If you are interested in learning more about situational awareness, human factors, and decision-making under stress, visit SAMatters.com. If you are interested in booking Dr. Gasaway for an upcoming event, visit his personal website at richgasaway.com.